Yeah. So, anyway, well, hello. Oh, I guess we should start. Welcome to Homocide, the podcast. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brandon.
I almost forgot my name for a second there.
You did.
Because
I
I
was
got
like, are you gonna
distracted
keep
by
going?
my twinkle fingers. Yeah.
Your twinkle fingers. You're such a homo.
Thank you.
Starting off great.
Uh-huh. Hi. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Anna is here always, and I just love it. I feel like we started the podcast with Brandon and I, but Anna's like a really big part of it.
Well, of course, it feels weird every time she's not.
I
know.
I feel like I should I go on camera?
Sometimes, yeah.
I want to poke my head in.
Okay, Anna's going to come on
'Cause
camera
you
for
haven't
just a
been
Just
on
second.
for a
camera in a
second.
while.
I'm just
She's
going
gonna
to
do a little,
hey guys.
just a little pokey poke. That
so you can
sounds
see
gross.
how hot and sexy I
Yes,
am.
she's so
gorgeous.
she's so sexy and hot.
Strut.
Ooh, she's
Ooh, that's
really
real bright.
Yeah, bright lights.
I know. Maybe we need to get another camera set up where it's just like right there.
I mean, I could always
POV.
like put the GoPro up for your cam. This is cam C. I don't know. AB. No, would be B because this is only one camera.
So why wouldn't it be A?
Right?
Well, A is your main.
Wouldn't that be? Or
Yeah,
maybe-
but
So
we only
this
have
would be
one.
yeah, I know. I fucked it up, you guys.
So it should be
You see, he was trying to gaslight us right then.
I know.
I was not. I
I've
said I
been
fucked it
gaslit
up.
enough this week, Kevin.
It's very true. I was not doing such a thing. God.
Oh, I love you.
Well, thank you. At least someone does.
Shut the fuck.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Womp, 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 womp.
What is new with both of you?
It's new. I don't know what is new. We did the. This is going to come out in a week from now.
Yeah,
but
so it's a little delayed.
Right, but we did jump on the White Dudes for Harris call last night, which was kind of fun
Because
to like
we-
listen to, and
We are white dudes for Harris. We're also gay dudes for Harris. We did miss that one.
we did LGBTQ.
It was really. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh my God. There's all of these like Zoom calls. White women for Harris.
Black women
Black
for
women
Harris,
for Harris,
Black men
LGBTQ
for Harris,
for Harris.
veterans for Harris.
Yes.
And
they're
what do
like
you do on these
massive
calls?
Zoom calls that they bring on politicians and celebrities, and it's just raising money for the Harris campaign.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it started off with the Black Women for Harris
Yeah.
Zoom call, which there was like 44,000 Black women or something like that
Yeah, I don't know the
that
numbers.
joined. And then there was the White Women for Harris that had like something like 200,000 women join. And the one that we watched last night, it wasn't necessarily a Zoom link.
No, it was like they had
did
a Zoom
and they were just
And then they live streamed the
Yeah.
Zoom.
Okay.
So they had a bunch of different actors, a bunch of different politicians, like Pete Buttigieg was there. Almost all of the candidates for vice president that they're talking about was
Yeah,
there.
were there. Lance Bass was there. Mark
Josh
Ruffalo, Josh Gad, Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
like it
and
was
they
like
raised like over $4 million.
yeah. So much
night.
so that Elon Musk got offended and shut down their X account.
okay, I'm slay.
You know you're done doing something right.
Right.
When Elon Musk comes for you.
But,
Okay.
but like
Yeah.
for a good juxtaposition of it, you have Elon Musk doing that, but then the CEO of LinkedIn
Yeah.
donated $50,000
Yeah, he like
to
matched
match
a donation. It was
another
cool.
donation.
That
yeah.
is really
It was
cool.
really great, and I think just hearing some of the conversation, some of it I personally felt a little cringe by.
Oh, well,
but
because it's straight.
this was
white.
'cause
It was a lot of
straight
straight white
mean.
white
dudes.
dudes
And
making
we
me
were like,
uncomfortable.
we're so gay.
Like
This is
it's
not-
gonna be cringe if it's
Oh,
like
for sure.
Well,
centered around
they
white
kept
men.
being like, smash the donate button, and I'm like, why are we saying
No.
smash?
They're like murder it, kill it with fire.
right.
And you're like, oh my god.
And like,
why do we have to be so aggressive?
I know.
and I'm always expecting just your typical white man to be like wanting to do something good and then shoving his foot in his mouth, right? So the whole time I'm like, please don't say anything stupid,
don't
don't
say
say
anything
anything
dumb.
racist, don't
Yeah.
say anything
Yes.
sexist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luckily, no,
Classic.
we didn't hear anything. We did end up falling asleep watching
To
it at
I
9
can,
p.m.
I can never like
Which is
really
really early.
be there for a whole Zoom meeting, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it's a lot, but we actually just streamed it on the TV since it was like live on
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched it longer than you did, but we also like flew back into New York City yesterday, and like we got up at 4 a.m. So by 9 o'clock last night, we were both like, oh,
It was
yeah.
awful.
Good
I know. It's
Yeah.
like I want to watch, but I'm just
Right.
whoever this politician's talking right now, I can't handle it. I'm just gonna sleep.
I love your notes, Brandon, because it says, I'm Kevin, and I'm Brandon, and if she is on.
Yeah, took that from you at one point.
Here she is. Oh, really? Man. Now it just says hi. Actually, I still need to be reminded that I'm Kevin.
Yeah, see?
Because it still says I'm Kevin.
It's hard to remember.
It is.
You know, it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, the white dudes for Harris was pretty interesting. And was cool to be on it to see so many white dudes for Harris.
Right?
So thank you.
So what's
for
new
that
with
moment. Me?
Yeah. I know you ask me every time, like I'm
Right.
supposed to have something to say. So what do you have?
I don't know. Nothing, really.
Okay, great.
think-
Anna?
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I can say my private information from last week that I wasn't.
You actually, there should be a PSA
So I was
here.
dating a really hot, sexy fireman, and he ended up actually being like kind of insane. So that's over. That's my
Wait, dude.
that's my Sex in the City moment,
Which, love that. Actually, this,
and it's continuing today. I have another date, not with
Ooh, get it?
not with fireman.
Is this, how are you finding your dates? Are these sex apps?
Well, they're dating apps.
They're straight.
I'm sure some people use them for sex.
Sure. I don't, what apps do you guys use?
You guys.
You guys, my multiple personalities.
And a 1 and 2.
I'm
use?
on Bumble.
Bumble. Is that the
Yeah.
one that the woman gets to swipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the man gets to swipe too. You just are the first.
You have to be the one
to
to-
say something.
So you have to
I
initiate.
literally, so my initiation every single time is just their name. I'm like, I'm not putting in effort for this.
So are you like, hi, Dan?
No, I'm like, Dan.
No pleasantries? You're just like, Dan.
No.
Like, no hi, no
What did they say?
nothing.
They say my name back, which is a really good barometer for whether I
Okay.
think it would be hot for them to say my name.
I love it. I love your
okay,
thought
yeah.
process with it.
And then I like ask them a question or something. Or most of the time, not most of the time, it depends. Sometimes they'll just say my name and then ask me a question so that I don't have to do any of the actual heavy. Because I
Okay,
don't
love
actually
that.
like the whole like me having to initiate thing. I'm just on Bumble because it's like most of the hottest guys are on Bumble, to be honest.
Oh. I didn't know that.
But yeah, if they just say my name back, then I'm like, okay, did I think that was like hot for them to say my name? Honestly, my favorite is when they say like, yes, Anna. And I'm like, oh.
And I also love it because it's just through
Oh.
message, so it's not like you're hearing them say it.
But
yeah,
you're
but
so-
it's like if I could like imagine
Can
them
I feel
saying
the
my name.
energy?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, how do you hear them
No.
say your name back?
Right.
But I love
On
that.
Hinge, you can leave voice messages, but not on Bumble yet, I don't think. I don't want voice messages though.
Like your
don't want any
initial,
part of that.
your initial response could be a voice message.
Yeah, the first thing that you say could be a voice message.
I kind of find that hot because what if somebody jumped on and they were like, "Hello, Anna."
It could be hot,
like-
but it also could be like an assault to the senses. It really
That's very
depends. really depends.
It is very true. Yeah, like what do we get today? What
Yeah.
kind of tone? Yeah. Oh God, this whole world to me is
So interesting.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I literally have had a date like every single week for the past.
Get it.
You know what?
Good for you.
Free meals.
Free meals.
No, honestly,
like this is a very
it's fun.
budgetary
I mean,
conscious.
as
Yeah.
long as the man is going to be paying for it. Because
They
then you
better
have
be.
the ones that are like, can we just split it?
No, if they did that, I would be like, I'm gonna go.
Goodbye. You're gonna
Goodbye.
pay for it. I'm leaving.
I know. The great thing about the fireman thing is that like he was really paying for some really expensive things. So
That's always nice.
very slay. And then as soon
Right.
as he was like, I'm a psycho, I was like, oh, bye.
Oh, I'm not going to
Would
get
you ever
killed.
consider being his friend?
No.
Okay, good.
Anna's like,
Smart.
I've heard enough stories from Homicide the podcast.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get
I'm
killed.
out.
No, I'm just kidding. He's not like that type of psycho. I don't think.
No,
that
he just
he's-
needs
I think
some-
he's harmless. I think he
Yeah.
just like uses women, and I'm not into
Love
being
that.
friends with men that do that.
Love
No.
men like that. Not really.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You are such a strong woman. Shout out to your mama because I'm sure that some of it came from her.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, I do.
I
love
have like a
strong
group
women.
message with
Do you?
my mom and my sister-in-law where I'm really keeping them up to date on all of the dates.
Oh my god, I
Like
love that
before I
so
go, I'll
much.
send them a screenshot of their picture and a little bit about them and whatever.
Oh, fun.
Also, really smart, right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
if you
for
do
sure.
end up murdered, like
Share your
everything's out there.
location.
Yep.
This
Share
is
your
feeling
location.
resemblant of our last episode.
Yeah, I don't remember the last episode. What was
We
that?
were talking
one?
about sax apps.
Oh, Sax Apps. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Steven.
planning on getting murdered.
No, none of us should.
I
be,
won't
thank
be
you.
going to
I don't know how many
anybody's
people do.
houses
No.
Plan.
until at least the third date.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm reading a book right now, and I don't know where it is. I hope I didn't leave it.
You're reading a book.
As in, he read one chapter 3 weeks ago.
I read 2 chapters 3 weeks ago. Thank you. And I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically about this woman who goes to a funeral parlor one morning, and is like, "I am here to plan my own funeral," and they're like, "Okay."
What?
So they help her plan her funeral, and then she dies. She's murdered 6 hours later.
6 hours.
Yes.
That's really crazy.
And that's all I know so far, because that was chapter
Well,
1.
you're
and 2.
really selling this book here.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought.
Welcome to Book Talk.
I would read it.
Yeah, one of our friends is
A couple of our friends.
Actually, a couple of our friends. One of Arthur has his. He's now getting a little TikTok famous for books, and then our old social media manager Shania is pretty big on TikTok now too.
I don't read enough books for that.
Me neither.
I mean, I
Like
do
at all.
read, but like I read slowly, so
Yeah.
it doesn't. I would read like one book a month, and they'd be like, "Where's the content?"
Where's your content? It's like your every video is like the first 3
Yeah,
paragraphs of
exactly.
every chapter. Yeah, like okay. Yeah, I don't want. No offense if you listen to our podcast. I don't watch it because it's not. It doesn't actually show up even on my.
What, their TikToks?
Yeah. On my
Oh, I
TikToks
get them all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't get Shania's at all. Arthur's will sometimes pop up. And I'm like, he's so adorable.
Oh, I know. Well, he just wrote his own book. We should plug that one.
He did write
if we
his own book. Yeah.
can remember it.
We'll do it on the next one
We
because I
will.
don't. Yeah. I feel like there's a campfire in front of it though,
There
or like
is.
on the cover. So it's coming up. It's coming to my memory now. Anyway, all right. Any other updates? Oh, Brandon's looking it up, so that all of our friends can know what Arthur Avalos.
Sorry, Arthur wrote
Wrote
off
this.
with this.
Also, we can share his TikTok, which I also don't know. Is he still friends with Tommy?
It'll probably.
Oh, gross. Arthur, delete him. Ugh.
Okay, the book is called Something Happened.
Something
Oh.
happened by
It's
Arthur
a
Avalos.
LGBTQ horror book.
Actually, I kind of want to read it.
I do too. We
What
should get it.
happened?
Something happened.
I don't know. Arthur.
Something.
We should actually maybe have Arthur on.
We should.
Oh, well, let's write him. Okay,
I
anyway.
mean, but Arthur, do you listen to this? I hope so. I think he does. He follows our TikTok. That's
Does he?
enough. You'll see us there at least.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Hi, Arthur. I don't think Shania's into true crime.
But I mean, okay,
So-
I'm sorry. That was a really great kind of segue into this episode because where's Arthur from?
Chicago.
And what is our episode on today?
Chicago murders.
There you go.
Also,
Dun, dun, dun.
we forgot to name this episode. So Anna named this episode. Anna, do you want to share what the episode 23 name is?
We choose the bear. Dun dun dun. If you've been on TikTok,
Yeah.
then you know. Well, maybe you guys are on TikTok and you didn't know about
don't
this.
know.
There's the whole the bear versus the man and
Mm-hmm.
what would a woman choose, and most women are like, I would choose the bear. I
Mm-hmm.
would feel safer with the bear. And
Is
also
the
the
bear-
bear is based in Chicago, the TV show. So
Also,
In
the
the
Chicago
Chicago
Bears.
also the Chicago
This is
Bears.
like-
There's Boys Town, so there's a
So,
lot of
we're
actual
talking
gay bears.
About, we're talking about those
Yeah.
violent men
Yeah.
and why we would choose the bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. When you say choose the bear, my mind goes right to like a gay bear, which is like a big
That
old
too.
hairy daddy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that'll like take care of you
Right.
and love you.
But like I said, there's Boys Town in Chicago, so there are
Boys
a lot
Town.
of gay bears.
I have been to
There's
Boys Town. Have you been to Boys Town? Not while you were out though.
Not while I was out though. No.
And I was out already, but this girl thought I wanted to be with her and wanted so I went to Boys Town with her, which was really
It's
awkward.
a whole nother story for another
Yeah,
day.
we'll explain that one. God damn. Don't go after gay men. All right, they're not gonna love you like that.
Period.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
what's your story described as today?
Well, I forgot to put that in here because
What did you title yours?
what a dick.
Oh.
That's it.
That's simple. That's
Yeah.
very short for you.
I know, but I did
Do
steal
I
something.
have a longer, more robust?
But I
one?
do have something in here, but it's because I stole it from Anna, and it says my story today can be described as lights, camera, dicks. So that's where I wrote it.
That's incredible.
Boom. Okay, what can your story be described?
Okay,
as?
so mine can be described as 4 satanic, inbred-looking motherfuckers who
Oh.
deserve to have their dicks cut off.
Whoa.
Whoa,
Right? I try to do my best Kevin line.
you won today.
I did.
I mean,
Yeah.
Thank you. I will
lights,
take
camera,
it.
dicks is really good. So Anna also gets some points
Yeah.
for that one, and I get 0.
You do.
because
But
mine-
yours is visceral.
Yeah.
I mean, inbred.
Yeah.
That really brings
Yeah.
Stephen Port to mind.
Stephen Port.
Oh, for sure. He was terrifying.
Listen.
I did the
Absolutely
creative
inbred.
for the episode
Wasn't he
graphics.
creepy
I'm like,
looking?
he
Yeah,
was
ew.
disgusting.
Like, no offense,
Absolutely
I would
disgusting.
not have gone home with him,
No.
No.
like at all.
Even with his toupee.
No.
No.
It didn't help anything. He had funky ass looking ears too.
Yeah.
Did you see that? On
And
that
his
one
eyes
picture?
were fucked up.
Yeah, no, he had killer eyes. Ugh. And my guide today, also gross.
Yeah.
So stay away from. Never mind.
Just stay away from
I was about to say stay away from ugly people, but don't.
No,
Don't.
just ugly people who want
ugly,
to murder
scary
people.
with dead eyes.
Stay away
Yes.
from
No, not
me.
even dead eye. I don't know.
See, somebody in my story had intense eyes too.
Really? They had murder eyes? Oh, God. All right. Well, anything else that's new other than go register to vote, vote.org. Check your voter registration. Thank you. Anything else?
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes. If you
Yummy.
like
Love
this video, go heart it or love it. Up it. What?
Up it.
I don't know. Thumbs up it.
Like
Is that what you do? On YouTube. Yeah. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
You both are looking at me like I'm insane.
I'm like, what are you talking
I'm
about
not
right
making
now?
this up. This is what we do on the social medias.
Reminder that you can leave comments on Spotify now. If you
Yes.
listen on Spotify, don't be a weird, silent, creepy person.
Yeah, don't be rude.
Not say anything.
That
Because
is one
that's what you're
thing-
doing if you're listening and not saying anything.
Yes.
You're actually being a creep.
I agree. That's that one. What's that? The UCB show that we. It's not UCB, but it's Rat Scraps.
Scraps.
What did they always say at the end of that? If you like take pictures,
If you take pictures without tagging us, you're a creep.
you're a creep. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess this one would be like, comment or you're a creep.
Yeah. Comment. Say something.
It doesn't work.
Say
No, it
something.
doesn't.
Or
See something, say something.
see something. See something. Say something.
Hear something, say something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
unless they're watching, then they can see and hear it.
And thumbs up it. This is a great intro.
Anyways, let's dive right in.
Who goes first today?
I think I do.
Do you?
I do.
Oh my God.
Do you?
Can you tell us? Do you? Can you tell us your cover? Oh my God, I cannot think today. Your title. What is it again?
Well, the story can be described as 4 satanic inbred-looking motherfuckers who deserve to have their dicks cut off.
Like Lorraine Bobbitt
Yes.
style.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know Lorraine Bobbitt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, let's dive in.
Right. Okay, so on June 2nd, 1981, the police responded to a call about a bad smell near the Rip Van Winkle Motel in the Chicago suburb of Villa Park, Illinois.
But like what kind of bad smell?
Let me fucking get to it.
Oh. It was very New York. Let me fucking.
You're
I was
welcome.
like yeah.
So at first, believed the smell was coming from a dead deer, the police started to scour the open field behind the motel. Unbeknownst to the officers, it was not a dead deer in the field, but the decomposing body of a young woman who appeared to be handcuffed, stabbed, mutilated, and for some reason, her left breast was amputated as if it was completely removed from her body.
Okay.
Just a trigger warning.
I just
I
had
added
a
that in real quick.
visceral
yeah.
reaction to that.
Yeah,
this one's gonna be intense. Isn't
it is kind of an intense one. You're
All
welcome.
right. All right.
No, this is I read it like the brief little description that I saw, and I was like, "This one's fucked up. I'm gonna have to do it."
And
okay.
you know, he was like, "Ooh, that one's good."
Yes, yes. Give the people what they want. I'm just kidding. Okay, so being that it was the early '80s, the world was in a panic due to the high rise in satanic ritual abuse,
I didn't know
due to
that.
the uprise of the satanic panic of the time.
What
so,
was the satanic panic?
satanic panic? I mean, you just did the Manson family, didn't you?
Yes.
That's the whole satanic panic.
Pretty sure I mentioned satanic
You
panic in that.
for sure did.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways,
In one ear, out the other.
for sure. Because the murder was so gruesome, the police obviously saw the ties, but had no idea who did it. For many, this was noted as an isolated incident. For almost a year, in fact, no other murders happened in this same manner. However, that did not last. Ending with at least 17 women dead, links to another infamous serial killer in one of Chicago's most terrifying killing sprees. This episode is about the 4-person satanic cult of the Ripper Crew.
Ew.
Dun, dun,
It's
dun.
called the Ripper Crew.
Yep. Ripper Crew, the Chicago Ripper Crew, the Ripper Crew of Chicago. There's a few different names, but yes. So to start, who was the Ripper Crew? And this is where I got part of my original line from, is the Ripper Crew consisted of 4 homely inbred-looking white dudes. They all, like, if you look at their photo, they all look like they'd smell like cat pee.
Ew. That's a really good descriptor.
Right. I mean, you
know.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like they'd have like a house full of hoarded shit. It consisted of 4 people: Robin Gecht, Edward Spreitzer, and brothers Andrew and Thomas Kokoraleis. Now, from my research, there wasn't a ton of information on the 4 of them, their past, all 4 of them. But what I did see was that Robin was essentially the ringleader. And Robin was born November 30th, 1953 in Maynard, Illinois. From family and friends, he was known as a normal young man. However, he had some intensity to him, especially his eyes.
Oh,
Right?
see?
They were piercing, one article said. So it's weird that I just said in one article, but then I have it listed below. So again, in one article, I read it made I'm sorry. I just have typos all in this. In one article I read, there's accusations that he at one point molested his sister, and he was sent to live with his grandparents. However, he denied that happening through his life, and there's no actual proof that it happened. But again, it's there's actually a few accusations from a couple different articles that I read that have mentioned that. So by the late 1970s, Robin had gotten married and had 3 children, and he was able to find a comfortable job as a subcontractor in Villa Park. And one of the most interesting pieces of this was his boss, the person who helped him grow in his career, and maybe more, was one of the most notable serial killers to date.
What?
John Wayne Gacy.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were friends?
Yeah. I mean, they worked with each other. He worked for him.
Why does the Midwest produce so many goddamn
I don't
serial
know.
killers?
In Chicago,
Lead.
right? Yeah. Kevin and I were
That's
looking.
like always the excuse.
Kevin and I were talking this morning about
It's
how
crazy.
there's a lot of serial killers in Chicago. That we
Yeah.
might actually do a part 2 to Chicago because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
So-
was. Yeah.
Brother,
I know.
Right.
Ugh.
So from what I've read throughout Robin's life, he had an obsession with breasts, specifically to injure them, like stabbing them with pins.
oh my god.
Yeah, so regularly he would ask his wife if he could injure them as they would have sex. Right, and apparently she complied, although she
girl.
didn't enjoy it.
Oh my god.
It would even get to the point, and I'm literally holding my chest right now. It would even get to the point where he would cut her breasts so much that they would get infected,
Oh my god.
What?
which he enjoyed playing with.
I've never been so happy. I've never been so happy to be part of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee.
The itty bitty titty committee.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
insane.
that's really funny. That's also really
so-
fucking disturbing.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
even described that the kink as something his entire family enjoyed. That his father, his grandfather, and his great grandfather enjoyed all the same things, as if it was
Ew.
like hereditary.
But like, how would you even know that?
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
I don't know any of the
Inbred.
sexual
No, I don't know.
fantasies or anything that like my
Oh
own.
my god, that actually makes me
no,
sick. to
I
my stomach.
don't want to know. Like
No.
I don't want to know
Like I
any
don't.
of that.
Like if I had a child, I wouldn't be like, oh hey, I'd like to cut up your mom's breasts. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's fucking weird. Oh God. So eventually, Robin started to learn more about what was going on in the satanic panic world, and he got a hold of the Satanic Bible, and there was quite a bit that he felt like related to him, especially when it came to his sexual fetishes.
Oh god.
So, as far as the other 3, there wasn't much information I found besides the fact that all 3 of them were deemed pretty dumb. I saw one article state that at some point they were referenced as simplistic in possessing a borderline range of intellect. All of this, in turn, made them easy targets to be manipulated, and Robin really honed in on that, making them believe that Robin had supernatural powers that he could use to control people.
Lord.
So I did see that Edward grew up in Chicago, but he had a really difficult upbringing. He had a lot of issues with his stepdad and bullies in school. And by the time he was 18, things were a little bit too rough, and he ended up getting kicked out of his home. Eventually, he met Robin, and Robin ended up letting Edwin move into his home, into his family home, so into the house with his wife and kids. As far as Andrew and Thomas, besides being as dumb as rocks, I did see that
It's really offensive to rocks.
I did see that they were from Villa Park, and they met Robin when they took a job at the construction site that Robin managed. Now, I didn't see anything relating them into knowing John Wayne Gacy, but the stuff that happened with John Wayne Gacy happened John Wayne Gacy got arrested before anything happened with these guys.
Interesting. Okay.
So by 1981, Robin was really deep into his satanic life and was looking to form his own satanic cult. And luckily for him, in the low IQs of the three men that he knew, he already had his crew started. So setting up what Robin called their satanic chapel in the attic of Robin's family home, the three would often meet when his wife was not at home. This attic space was only lit by candlelight and had an altar that was draped in red cloth and had 6 red and black crosses at the back of it. In the chapel, they would start their own daily rituals, all of which I didn't see. Like, I don't know what all of their rituals were. However, Robin made it clear that the rituals needed to include some sacrifice for them to place at the altar to appease Satan. Now, from what I read, it seemed as the 3 other men were so manipulated that they became a little bit scared of Robin, thinking that they didn't want him to use one of them as a sacrifice. They just complied to everything. So this brings us to May 23rd of 1981. The 3 men ordered by Robin were to find their first sacrifice.
Oh my God.
Yep. Going to the Rip Van Winkle Motel, the trio knew that they'd be able to find a sex worker because like most of the disgusting killers that we've talked about on this podcast, they believed that targeting a group of individuals who knew that the police wouldn't really take as serious was a really good option for them. So it's here where they find 28-year-old single mother, Linda Sutton.
Linda.
Yeah, they lured her into their van, and it's here where they handcuffed her, gagged her with a cloth, sexually assaulted her, and killed her and mutilated her body.
She was the one that you talked about with the breast that was...
Yep. They then dumped her in the open field behind the motel, where the body would lay for 10 days before somebody called the police about a weird smell. Once the trio dropped off the body, they then... Okay, I'm going to say this is a trigger warning too on this piece. Once they dropped off the body, they then brought the severed breast back to the satanic chapel in Robin's attic. Once back to the chapel, it is noted that they prayed over the breast, they read from the satanic Bible, and then Robin masturbated on top of it, which then Robin asked the other men to do the same. Ugh. Once finished, Robin took the piece of flesh, cut it into 4 pieces, and each of them dug in, all because Robin told the men that it would help grow their satanic powers.
You mean dug in as in they ate it?
They ate the breast. And so
they ate their cum-soaked breast meat.
Yes.
That's fucking disgusting.
My God.
Yes. So with all of the rest of the murders, I don't go deep into what they did. This was a common occurrence. This was something that they did every time.
That's rough.
Jesus
that was
Christ.
rough.
Yeah.
That's
So-
really gross.
Robin told the men that it would grow their satanic powers, and this is because in the Satanic Bible, the 7th of the 9 satanic statements is Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours, who because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development has become the most vicious animal of all. All of which Robin believed that consuming flesh was no different than the meat that they normally eat.
Isn't cannibalism like the more human flesh you eat, the more insane you go? Like, I don't know if that's scientifically accurate, but I feel like I've heard something about that.
Yeah, I mean, at the point, if you feel like you want to eat one thing, I think the more human you eat, the worse you get, yeah.
Yeah, that's just awful.
Yeah. So then 10 days later, the police got a call about the foul odor. They made their way to the motel and found Linda's body. Quickly, they knew that this was a homicide, but again, there was not a lot of evidence because the body laid there for so long, the decomposition process made it even hard for them to find evidence or determine who the body was. But like many of the stories we talk about, they were able to identify the body due to Linda's medical or dental records. But again, the police had nowhere to turn, leaving the gang open to find their next victim. However, the next victim wouldn't be for almost another year, which I can only guess is that they kind of wanted to test it out to see what would happen after the first one. So since nothing
Like to see if they got
happened-
away with it or something?
Yeah, to see if they got away with it. So on May 15th, 1982, the crew abducted their next victim. Driving in a nearby parking lot, they found 21-year-old Lorraine Borowski, who was about to open up the realtor's office that she worked at. Then, just like Linda, the group they held her captive, sexually assaulted her, and used a steel wire to forcibly sever her breast from her body, all while she was still alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It wasn't until one of them grabbed a hatchet and finally killed her shortly after. The group then brought her body to the Clarendon Hill Cemetery and dumped her body. Unfortunately for Lorraine, the torment didn't really end, as her body was not found until 5 months after the murder.
What?
Yeah, because they dumped her in some weird spot in the cemetery. And
I feel like there's a lot of visitors to cemeteries.
Yeah.
Though,
Right.
I'm not sure.
Must have been like a huge
You would
cemetery.
think, right? But from here, the crew must have gained some confidence and a desire to keep going, as they didn't wait much longer till their next sacrifice. On May 29th, they abducted their next victim, 30-year-old Shui Mak, who had just finished a shift at her family's restaurant in Hanover Park, just north of Villa Park. She ended up making it home that night, but without any issues. However, it stated that she got into an argument with her brother and she decided to go out for a walk. And this walk would end up being one of the worst decisions, as it's here when the gang found her walking and they abducted her right off the street. Jeez. Then, as the other ones, she was sexually assaulted, mutilated, and killed. Unlike the other ladies, the guys decided to dispose of her body a little bit differently. Utilizing their day job, they were able to bury her body in one of their active construction sites. Then 2 weeks later, the group abducted 19-year-old Angel York. However, this one is a little bit different. Once they grabbed her and handcuffed her, they forced her to do the next little bit on her own. Handing her a large knife, they forced her to cut off her own breast. Throwing duct tape on the wounds, they for some reason decided not to kill her. Instead, they threw her out of the car, still alive. Oh. Yeah. Obviously, Angel got medical attention and told the police everything, which was the first lead in the case. However, the police were not able to figure out who attacked her. However, before the next killing, the police ended up finding the bodies of both Lorraine and Shu? Ooh, it was something like that. Up until this point, they had no idea where any up until this point, they had no idea that there were any other killings like Linda's. And these were so specific that they knew that they had a serial killer on their hands. Then, after taking a short break to see if there would be any issues with the police after letting Angel go, on August 28th of 1982, they grabbed 18-year-old sex worker Sandra Delaware. Again, the group assaulted, stabbed, strangled, mutilated her, and dumped her body in the banks of the Chicago River. Her body was found just a few hours later. Then, less than 2 weeks later, on September 8th, the Rippers found 31-year-old marketing executive Rose David. Again, they mutilated her, killed her, and dumped her body in a stairwell of a luxury apartment building. Her body was found a week later.
Oh my God.
So at this time, I saw a couple different articles, which I didn't have it in here, but a couple articles talk about how as after more of the murders happened, it seemed as if they started to let their guard down a bit because they were going after sex workers and dumping them in places that'd be harder to find. But for this one, they dumped her in a place where they're going to find her.
Apartment building.
And it was not, this was one of their only ones that wasn't somebody who was in the sex work realm besides the second woman. So next on October 6th of 1982, I keep saying something a little bit different happened, but this one is like completely different. For some reason, according to Edward, they were driving around town with Robin, and Robin told him to slow down. Robin grabbed 2 guns that they had in the back of the car and told Edward to stop the car near a phone booth where 28-year-old drug dealer Rafael Tirado and 18-year-old Alberto Rosario were standing. Then, out of nowhere, Robin started to open fire on the guys, killing Rafael and injuring Alberto, all because Robin didn't like seeing a drug deal happening.
He's too pure for a drug
Too
deal.
pure. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
From here, Robin must have needed to fulfill his desire to masturbate over and eat flesh, that they decided to not stop that day, luring 20-year-old worker Beverly Washington into his car. They went back to their normal practice. She was sexually assaulted. Her left breast was amputated. Her right breast was severely slashed, and they dumped her body on a railroad track. However, Beverly must have been a very resilient woman because she didn't die. And she held on for a couple days before the police found her body and like barely hanging on. So luckily for police, she was able to give them a full account of what happened and a description of at least one of the men who did it and the van that they were in. At first, before the account, the police thought that this was all by the doing of the same man. So they were shocked to find out that there was more than one person.
Interesting.
With the description of the man and the red van with the tinted windows and the feathers hanging from the rear view mirror, the police were quickly able to find a car that matched the description just a few weeks later. As the police pulled the van over, they were surprised to see someone who didn't match the description. However, every other detail matched Beverly's account. So the van that they found matched exactly, even the feathers hanging from the mirror. So identifying himself as Edward, he then let the police know that the van belonged to his boss, Robin. Thinking on their feet, the police asked Edward to drive to Robin's home, in which he complied. When Robin exited the house, it came clear to the police that the person walking towards them matched the description. In this first introduction, Robin played it cool, stating he had no idea what he was talking about, offered to go back to the station for further questioning, and he asked how he could help. So the officers brought him back for questioning, but the police didn't have enough evidence to connect him with the crimes, and unfortunately had let him go. But they didn't stop their investigation. So in their investigation, the detectives talked to a motel manager. Now, what motel this was, I'm not sure. I couldn't see it. At first, I thought it was maybe the one from the first killing, but I don't think it was. So talked to some manager at a hotel. But this manager said that Robin and 3 other men rented out the rooms a year prior with adjoining rooms. They held loud parties and appeared to be involved in a cult. This investigation got detectives to finally figure out who the other 2 men, because it was Robin and Edward, and they were able to find out that these other 2 men were Andrew and Thomas. So the detectives also showed Beverly a photo of Robin, which he immediately knew was him. And so with all of that, the police eventually arrested all 3 men at different points in time, but within the next couple months. Just like other times Robin was brought in, he stated, true to his message, that he didn't have any part in the crimes. However, the other men went in when they were questioned. Edward quickly broke down and told the police everything, including the fact that there were 4 additional murders that they did not know about. However, the police never found those bodies. Andrew confessed to the murders of Rose and Lorraine, and that he had been there during the other murders as well. Out of all 4 of the men, he gave the most detailed account of what happened. Then, finally, Thomas also confessed to being part of the crimes, even stating that at one point he saw up to 15 breasts in a box in the satanic chapel, which suggests to the police that were many more victims that had yet to be found. All 4 men were convicted of the murder, assault, and mutilation of the women. Robin was sentenced to 120 years at the Danville Correctional Center with the projected parole date of October 10th, 2042, in which he'll be 88 years old, which I think is interesting because as the ringleader, he didn't do as much as the killing. So he only got 120 years, which I think he should have gotten way more.
I'm always so what is the point of a 120 whatever year? Just
you're
say
gonna die.
lifetime.
Lifetime
Just say a
sentence.
lifetime sentence.
Just stupid.
So because Edward confessed to be the one who killed Shu, Rose, and Sandra and Raphael, which is interesting because he didn't kill Raphael. Robin did, but whatever. I didn't get that part. Anyways, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For the aggravated kidnapping and murder of Linda, Edward was sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, this ended up being reversed in 2003 after Governor George H. Ryan commuted the sentences of everyone on death row, changing the sentencing to life in prison without parole. Andrew was convicted of murder, aggravated kidnapping, and rape of the murder of Rose Davis, and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Andrew was also sentenced to death by lethal injection for the aggravated kidnapping and rape of Lorraine. Unfortunately for him, his death date was before the charge, and he was executed on March 17th, 1999. His last words were, "To the Borowski family, I'm truly sorry for your loss. I mean this sincerely." And then he said some Bible verse that I didn't want to put in here. Then Thomas was convicted of the murder and rape of the death of Lorraine. However, because of his detailed confession, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. However, he did appeal the case, and in this appeal, his lawyer was able to get the rape conviction released, and he won that trial. And instead of having a retrial, Thomas pled guilty in charge in exchange for a 70-year sentence. And in this plea deal, they dismissed the charges for his part in Linda's murder. In 2017, he was scheduled to be paroled on September 13th. However, it was denied after he failed to provide a place to live. But then on March 29th, 2019, Thomas was released from prison after only serving about half of his term. And according to a 2020 article from A&E, Thomas is now 59, lives in a Christian shelter that offers training and guidance for ex-offenders in Aurora, Illinois.
Be careful out there in Aurora, Illinois.
So I pulled some interesting quotes and information. So it said that there was many more murders, up to at least 11 other sex workers that detectives were not able to confirm. Thomas came out and said afterwards, after he got out of prison, he said, "Everybody thinks I'm a monster."
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, you are. Yep.
Yeah. And then when asked if he would talk to the family of the people he killed, he said, "No, I just want to say that I am feeling for him. I feel sorry for him, and I'm praying for him." And then I have a note that in all caps says "fucking coward."
You disgusting piece of
You're
shit.
a coward. Then the Judge Francis J. Mahone, told Robin, "Only a devil would do these things. An animal would not do these things. A monster would." I also have in March of 1999, Robin's son at the time was 18 years old. His name was David. Was charged with the first-degree murder of a gang-related killing and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. So that apple didn't fall too far.
Sure didn't.
And then I saw one note in one article that I thought was interesting that said John Wayne Gacy once said that he did not work alone and that he had an accomplice.
Ooh.
Though his claim was never concretely proven, the individual in question is most likely Robin.
Fuck.
Yes.
I could see that.
So that is the story of the Chicago Ripper crew.
Oh my God, that was rough, actually.
That made me want to throw up. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. So inbred-looking motherfuckers. You could go see their image on our Instagram. They're awful.
And they're stupid. Wow. Well, that was fucked up. Thank you for that moment.
You're very, very welcome.
I feel offended.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I didn't do it.
Sick. Well, I don't even know how to follow that up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was an intense one. I was trying to rush getting it done right before
great.
this. And
Yeah,
I
you
was
did
like,
great.
this is just such a fucked up story.
Yeah, it
It
was.
is so messed up.
It was not one that I enjoyed.
No.
No.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you ready for...
Yes. I will try to follow that up with What a Dick.
What a dick.
That's my title.
Let's do it.
All right. So it was 11 p.m. on the night of July 13th, 1916 to 6. 1916, what?
1916.
1666.
It was 11 p.m. on the night of July 13th, 1966, in the Chicago neighborhood of South Deering, when a seasoned criminal broke through a window, gaining entrance into a townhouse, which was functioning as a dormitory. Inside the home were 6...
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right.
It was supposed to say of. Okay, great. Yeah, wow, Kevin. Okay, so inside the home were 6 of the 9 female nursing students who all shared that home. So what ensued was a night of absolute terror, ending with continuous screams of, "They are all dead. My friends are all dead."
Oh, my God.
So this is the story of Richard Speck, who is an American mass murderer known for killing 8 female nursing students in something the coroner called the crime of the century.
Oh, my God.
You know. So this one is actually a little bit rough too, but there's no cutting off breasts, so there's that. A couple sources worth noting: Britannica, allthat'sinteresting.com, and chicagohistory.org.
You love a good Britannica moment.
I do.
I feel like that's on all of your sources.
Britannica, she knows what's good. One thing I did want to note in here, which I found was really interesting, was the definition of mass murder. So it's actually defined by the U.S. federal law as the killing of 3 or more. This is a weird note that is not legally justified or excusable.
What?
In
They're
a single,
probably referring to like the army or
that's
something.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what,
In a single incident at a single location, or as a serial murder, or murderer has killed over a period of time. So I thought that was interesting.
So what's the difference between a mass murderer and a serial killer?
So a
It
mass
doesn't have to be at
murderer.
the same time.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the serial killer is period of time. Mass murderer is like same time, same location.
You
Yeah,
literally just said it.
I did. Okay. So this is again is the story of Richard Speck. So let's dive into little old Richard here, little Dick here. Okay. So he was born on December 6th of 1941 as Richard Benjamin Speck in either Monmouth or Kirkwood, Illinois. I don't know. They're both very close to each other, but they were both listed on 2 different places. So don't know where he was born.
See, I get a lot of that stuff too.
I know.
Like,
Somewhere in between.
depending on older articles and newer articles, they'll have like different information
Yeah.
like that. And you're like, it's
Which is really annoying. Probably because everybody's doing true crime and we all choose different information. I don't know. So his parents were very religious and they were also teetotaling. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
I didn't either. So teetotalism is the practice of or promotion of total personal abstinence from the consumption of alcohol, specifically alcoholic drinks. So people who practice this are called teetotaler or teetotaler.
Wouldn't that just be sober?
Correct.
right.
Or teetotal. But apparently this is what they said in the 40s.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. So
That's weird.
I know. I thought I was like, I gotta expand on that one. What? But clearly I can't even say the word, which is probably why we say sober now. So Richard was the 7th of 8 kids, which is
That's
a lot. Mm-hmm.
Too many.
Right.
Yes. Richard's father was quite clean cut. They were poor, but they were like, he was still like pretty put together. And apparently Richard's dad was like somebody that he absolutely idolized. He like loved him a lot. What's sad about that is that Richard's father died in 1947 when he was 53 of a heart attack, which is when Richard was just 6 years old. So 3 years later, in 1950, his mother remarried and moved with her new husband to East Dallas, Texas, taking Richard and his younger sister with her. But only those two. Don't know what happened to the other kids.
Oh.
Also, I only read that in one place. I don't know. He definitely went there. To Dallas, which you know Texas because you're from there.
Yeah.
What do you think of Dallas?
Dallas is where all of my extended family lives.
Okay.
I personally like it.
Yeah.
It's not like,
It's kind of a cool city.
yeah, it's
yeah.
fun.
I've only driven.
You
through.
kind of have to like know where the spots are.
Yeah. My biological sister used to live in Grand
Grand
Rapids is in Minnesota. Grand
Okay,
Prairie.
I don't know.
She lived in Grand Prairie,
Okay, yeah.
which is like right outside of, it's like a part of Dallas, but like a suburb.
The greater Dallas area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like suburbs around there.
Yeah, because I'm trying to breathe. My anxiety's high too.
Oh my God.
Today's an anxious day. I don't know. why.
Maybe it's because of these stories that
Right?
we're telling.
Could be the stories.
Totally could be. My
Could
anxiety's
very well
been high
be.
all day too.
I know our anxiety. We just have.
You're like, someone's going to come and cut off my breast.
Oh my God. That's horrible. Okay, so Richard was a poor student, but not in the sense of like he was poor, because he was too, but he was just like a bad student. So in addition to that, he would refuse to wear his glasses, which is actually what he needed to like not be a poor student. But he also had speaking of anxiety, had so much anxiety that he would not actually speak in class, like at all. Like he wouldn't talk to people. So he ended up having to repeat the 8th grade, which is also the time that he began drinking alcohol.
Oh, how old are you in 8th grade?
Like 12.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, 12. No,
Yeah.
8th grade's like 13.
11, 12.
Yeah.
But did they even have an age limit in the 40s of when?
Well, I don't know. His what's interesting about I skipped over this part, didn't I? So, okay, let's jump back a little bit. So basically he ended up in East Dallas, Texas, right, with his younger sister and this new stepdad. Well, the thing about this stepdad was that he was a traveling salesman with a long criminal record, who was a very opposite person than what his father was. So the stepfather would actually drink heavily and verbally and physically abuse Richard. And so the family ended up bouncing from house to house, living in many of the poor neighborhoods in Dallas. And so Richard, here we are.
Yeah, you missed quite a bit.
I sure did. I skipped up. Richard, again, poor student, would refuse to wear his glasses, had to repeat the 8th grade, but then started drinking alcohol at that really young age. Well, he was supplied with alcohol from this stepdad who was an alcoholic. So that's how he kind of started drinking. So he eventually dropped out of high school during the 2nd semester of his freshman year. which is young, which is also when he was arrested for the first time.
Oh.
At 13.
Oh.
I get it. I was arrested at 9. I was not drinking alcohol. I was smoking
Nor
oregano.
have you ever killed anybody, so there's that.
I also have not killed anybody. Correct.
I mean, yet at least.
Ooh, never. I mean, yeah, never. Okay, although.
Why did you second guess it?
I mean,
Because my mind went to like, okay, if I had to protect somebody.
Okay, but that's different. That's
I
not killing
would.
somebody out of cold blood.
No, like I would not do that. So,
God,
I
we
don't
got
think
that
so.
straightened out.
Right? I know.
thanks for
Everyone's
the
like,
clarification.
Brandon, if you need help, blink twice.
Brandon blinked. Shut up. So again, he was arrested at 13. So although I'm not sure for what, because I can't find it anywhere. And now I also think about saying in general a lot.
Sorry.
And I say it a lot.
You do.
So although I do, and 100%. Stupid. Okay. So I don't know what he was arrested for in general, but it's known that he had regular run-ins with law enforcement due to his excessive drinking and penchant for public disturbances.
Penchant?
I guess so. I
So,
liked
and
the
this is
word,
all
so I
at the
put it in
age
there.
13?
Yeah. So I said that's for public disturbances. It's a long cry from not speaking to people in elementary school due to his anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which alcohol brought out that part of him.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's like that for everyone.
For a lot of people who are anxious around social settings, alcohol can certainly open them up. So
It's not necessarily the best option,
no.
No.
but
Some
some of us have been there before.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love, which is why I don't do it a lot. I love drinking a lot. Like I used to
I used
go
to
out a
love
lot.
drinking.
I used to love being drunk,
Not much,
which
so
is
much
why I don't
anymore.
do it as much anymore because it could be an issue, and I like to control that.
At least you recognize that it could be, and you don't do it.
I do. Alcoholism runs in my family, so my biological family. So I was like, let's not become that. Anyway, so his drinking got pretty bad, and he would actually regularly be drunk as a 13-year-old every day.
Oh.
So in 1962, when he was 21, he ended up marrying a 15-year-old girl
Oh.
At 21?
named Shirley Malone because he got her pregnant after they met at a Texas fair. 21-year-olds, leave 15-year-olds alone. Thank you. Actually, all older men. Leave children
Just
alone.
leave children alone.
Great.
If their age starts with a teen,
Yeah.
If it ends in,
Or-
teen.
ends in teen, sorry,
15,
I'm dyslexic.
19,
Starts with a teen.
teen 6.
Don't have sex with teens. Just any kind of teen. Just don't do it.
No.
Yeah, no, disgusting. So
Or younger than that. 'Cause
Yeah.
Realistically,
just
you have disgusting
leave,
people
just
going
leave children
after, like,
alone.
9-year-olds.
Done. Okay, so he tattooed "Born to Raise Hell" on his arm,
Okay.
which would be quite poetic.
Yeah.
He was arrested 41 times before he was 24.
Whoa.
There should be like some kind of law that's like, if you are in jail for this amount of times, we're just
We just keep you
gonna
here.
keep you.
Just
We're gonna
wait.
keep you.
If you're arrested for police, justice system, what? Oh, 41 times?
Yeah.
I don't.
Like, there's obviously something seriously wrong.
So 1963, he was actually convicted of theft and check fraud and sentenced to 3 years in prison, but was paroled after 16 months. His behavior after that started to get increasingly violent. So remember, he was married to Miss 15-year-old Shirley. So Shirley reported that she often lived in fear of him. She said that he would often rape her at knife point and demanded sex 4 to 5 times a day.
What? Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that sentence.
I know.
Knife point. Mm-hmm. And you said how many times a day?
4 to 5 times a day.
It's too many.
Who? What?
No.
Like what? Yeah. Like
That's a lot of
they needed
sex.
medication to like bring down a sex drive
Yeah.
instead of all these, medications to get dicks hard.
Well,
Which, by the way, we should be taking out that kind of medication if we're not allowing for abortion. Thank you.
Period.
Anyway, so his probation officer, because remember he was paroled, his probation officer even said when Speck is drinking, he will fight or threaten anybody as long as he has a knife or gun. When he's sober or unarmed, he couldn't face down a mouse.
Ick.
Yeah.
couldn't face down a mouse.
Yeah. So 1965 Richard ended up attacking a woman in the parking lot of her apartment building with a 17-inch carving knife. She escaped and he was arrested and given a 16-month sentence. He was released after 6 months due to an error.
Due to an error. What does that mean?
Don't know. That's
Okay.
science.
How about we don't
That's
make
that.
errors?
Yeah, let's not make errors
Yeah,
about
maybe
that.
not. And release people who end up killing people. So, fearing for her life, Shirley, Richard's wife, filed for divorce in 1966 and took full custody of their child, the one
Good
that
for
he
her.
got her pregnant with, at the fair. So, to avoid another arrest in Dallas, remember, because he's been doing a lot of crime there,
Yeah.
he returns back to his birthplace in Illinois, which is where his violence escalated significantly. So, 1966, after returning to Monmouth, he robbed and raped a 65-year-old woman. And while there, he also while there in Monmouth, he ended up stabbing a man in a bar fight, stole a car, and robbed a grocery store.
Did he get arrested for any of these?
No. So he then killed a 32-year-old barmaid who worked at a bar he was doing carpentry work for. When he was questioned by the police about the murder, he fled, went to Chicago. So he was already in Illinois,
Yeah.
like 200 miles from Chicago, went to Chicago, and he stayed with his sister who lived in Chicago.
His sister's not like, why are you here?
Well, so he overstayed his welcome at his sister's house. So he eventually settled into a Skid Row hotel near the National Maritime Union Hiring Hall, where he actually applied for work as a merchant seaman. So, which by the way, I didn't know Skid Row was a part of Chicago. I thought Skid Row was in New York City.
I think they
Are there
consider.
multiple?
I think
Maybe
there's
there are.
multiple. I think they consider any like bad neighborhood at that
To be
time
Skid Row?
kind of like a Skid Row.
Because like my mind goes to Little Shop of Horrors,
Yeah.
which I thought was set in New York City on Skid Row.
I have no idea.
I might
maybe
be wrong.
we're wrong.
So, anyway.
Okay, so according to Google, originated around 1900 when the term Skid Row was used to describe a part of town that was frequented by loggers who made roads or tracks of logs laid crosswise on another. That does not give me enough information.
I think that's wrong. I actually think Skid Row is in LA. Oh God, help us, listeners.
Is a neighborhood in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay, I think that's actually what is Little Shop.
What's the accent then that they have in Little Shop? 'Cause Little Shop is like, she's like,
she has her. It sounds like a New York accent, right?
It's like a Jersey.
for what's the Audrey?
Yeah.
Isn't Audrey's accent like,
I don't know. It
New
seems
York
very
City?
like overplayed.
yeah? And I got a black eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
And my arms in a
my
cast.
arms in a cast. Yeah, like I think it's
Okay.
that's very New York.
Yeah.
Okay, so this says the 1960 film set on Skid Row in Los Angeles, but the Broadway musical is set in New York City.
Well, that's awfully confusing. All right. Well, Los
that's
Angeles or New York
awfully
City. I don't
confusing.
know. Apparently, there's a Skid Row in Chicago as
I
well.
would assume it's just any bad neighborhood with a lot of
Yeah.
homelessness
Yeah.
and crime.
All right. Well, Skid Row. That's where he was. So he applied to work as a merchant seaman. So he ended up waiting 5 days for a shipping assignment. So he gets a job, waits 5 days for a shipping assignment, then finally got an assignment. So he went on June 12th of 1966, he went to the ship that he was assigned to only to find out that his position had been given to someone else. So that enraged him, which caused him to embark on a drinking spree in the neighborhood. So while he was out, he met Ella Mae Hopper, a 53-year-old woman who spent the day drinking at the same taverns as he did. So he eventually held her at knife point, raped her, and stole her mail order .22 caliber Hrom pistol. I think it's called Hrom. I don't know. This led us to the night that I described at the beginning, which was on July 13th of 1966. So, and remember, that was when he broke into a townhouse with all those ladies who were nursing students. So
All of this because he lost. He didn't have
yeah,
a
he got all
job.
pissed off because of his own failed life. So now armed,
It's a you problem, sir.
Richard went out into the streets of the south side of Chicago. After a mile of walking, he came across the townhouse that I spoke about out in the beginning of the story. So after breaking in through that window, Richard knocked first on the door of an exchange student from the Philippines. Her name was Corazon Amaral. She was 23 years old. At knife point, he herded her and her fellow exchange students in the same room from the Philippines, Merlita Gargulo, 23, and Valentina Pasion, 23, into the next room where there were two American students, Patricia Matsuk, 20, and Pamela Wilkening, 20, and then Nina Jo Schmey, 23. They were all sleeping. He rounded them up too. So he woke up the two American women. So he tied all 6 girls who were there around their wrists, behind their backs, with sheets that had been torn by him. So they were like strips of sheets that he tore, tied them all up. So here's what, a little bit of a trigger warning. So what Richard ended up doing was, one by one, he got each woman from the room, would take them out of the room, and then would stab them to death or strangle them, or sometimes both.
Oh my God, it's kind of like that one story.
Which one?
That you had talked about. It was the one where they were bringing the family into the barn and killing them.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that one was horrible. That was a cult, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, that's what he did with these. So in the midst of the murders, though, 3 other students end up coming home during that time, which is why the murders were at 8. Remember, there was 9 that lived there. So 2 other nursing students first arrived. So one of them arrived home. Her name was Suzanne Ferris. She was 21. She was the first one to arrive during these murders. Richard immediately stabbed her to death in the upstairs hallway as she was walking to her bedroom. And then the next one to arrive was Marianne Jordan. She was 20, also stabbed upon her death at the entry.
Oh my God.
And then third roommate, Gloria Jean Davy, who was 22. She was just out with her boyfriend. He had just dropped her off. It was pretty late. She arrived last. She was raped, the only one, raped, sexually brutalized, and then strangled by Richard.
Oh my gosh.
So in the midst of all of that chaos, there was one woman who was actually able to hide. So that first one that I mentioned, the Corazon Amaral. So although she was tied up during the chaos, she was able to roll under a bed while Richard's back was turned away. And because of the late arrivals, it's actually said that Richard lost count of how many women were tied up and he forgot about her. So she rolled under this bed, hid.
Oh my God,
while this was all happening.
Terrifying she must have been.
So
how all of them must have been.
I know. So she later said that, as it was quoted as saying, the American girls told us we more or less had to trust him. Maybe if we were calm and quiet, he would be too. So he has been talking to us all, and he seems calm enough, and that is a good sign, is what the American girls were telling these exchange students from the Philippines. So Amaral said that none of her friends screamed as they were being led from the room, but she later heard their muffled cries, which is awful. So she stayed.
I don't think I would want to live through that, to be honest.
No. So she said that she stayed hidden under the bed until 6 o'clock in the morning, just in case. Then bolted from her hiding place to the nearest window where she screamed, "They are all dead. My friends are all dead. Oh God, I'm the only one alive." She continued to scream that until the police arrived.
Oh my God.
Which is just...
Oh my God, the trauma that she endured, and like, I can't even imagine what the rest of her life ended up being from that.
Especially like one by one. And it doesn't really say where he took them, but I'm assuming to like another room, and it was the same room. So these women are being led into a room that's just a bloody mess with their friends dead. Like, it's just,
No, you would have to send me to the psych ward.
Yeah.
This is why we choose the bear.
Yeah.
Yes. So Richard, after that, fled and went into hiding, eventually trying to die by suicide. Because of that, he was taken to a hospital and then easily recognized after a doctor noticed the tattoo that he had gotten, because they had listed that in the newspaper when they were looking for him, because again, there was an eyewitness.
Yeah.
So he was arrested on July 17th, 1966. So July 13th is when that happened. Already arrested on July 17th of 1966. So let's talk about the arrest. So, well, that was the arrest, but the actual investigation, all this other stuff. So Richard was deemed competent enough to stand trial by a panel of medical professionals because he originally claimed that he had no recollection of the murders, but it didn't really matter because, again, there was an eyewitness. So his trial began on April 3rd, 1967 at the Peoria County Courthouse. The evidence against him was pretty damning, the first being the eyewitness of Amaral. So what I love about this is like strong women. In a dramatic moment during the trial, she stood directly in front of Richard, pointed at him, almost touching his chest, and said, "This is the man."
Good for her.
Yeah. And at the time, at 1967, that was quite big. So
I mean, I would say for anybody having the courage to be able to do that,
I agree.
Good for her.
Right.
Especially at that time, and like an exchange. Yeah. So fingerprints were also recovered at the scene that matched him as well. So there was just a lot of evidence. So this was actually a super high profile trial, and it lasted less than 2 weeks. The jury only deliberated for 1 hour. What was that?
I mean,
They're
at
like,
that point,
yeah, you did it.
You did it. So
I'm sure they probably discussed more so what the sentencing should be more than the conviction.
kind of. I mean, so let's talk conviction. So April 15th, the jury found Richard guilty and recommended that he be served the death penalty. So in June of that same year, a judge upheld the jury's recommendation and sentenced him to death by electric chair. But on June 29th of 1972,
That's
the Supreme Court ruled in the case Furman v. Georgia, thereby declaring that the death penalty was unconstitutional, which forced the resentencing for Richard. So he received his new sentence in November of that year of 1972, ordered to serve from 400 to 1,200 years in prison, though 8 consecutive
AKA
sentences.
a lifetime.
A lifetime
Come
fucking
on
sentence.
now.
So
for many.
it was later reduced to 100 to 300 years. I guess they finally recognized that people don't
Why
live that
take
long.
the time to reduce it? That's such like
Stupid.
asinine.
Just a waste of
Such
time.
Just wasting your time.
stupid shit.
And wasting taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
No, literally.
So he would serve his sentence at the Stateville Correctional Center in Crest Hill, Illinois. Okay. So while imprisoned, Richard unsuccessfully petitioned to be paroled no less than 7 times. In 1996, y'all,
Don't say it.
a bizarre video taken of Richard in 1988 was released to the public by an anonymous attorney. In the video, Richard is wearing silk panties and with female-like breasts grown, using smuggled hormone treatments, performed oral sex on another inmate. While they both
What?
This is not what I thought you were going to say.
do large amounts of cocaine. At one point,
Cocaine.
In prison? Where are they getting cocaine?
okay, apparently my other sister, love her, who's a felon, she told me that in prison,
You can
all
get
of that
anything.
shit, you can get anything. And I'm like,
Well,
what?
because people smuggle it in. I want to say,
She
like,
also said there's a lot of dirty cops, like a
but
lot.
even like,
I mean,
Orange is the New
Orange
Black.
is the New Black.
Like
yeah.
things like that actually happen, which
Yeah.
is insane.
Like I can't believe my sister lived through
But
all
to
that
get
kind of
even
stuff, but yeah.
hormone treatments and
Apparently, yeah, was getting hormone, like just whatever. So here's what's interesting. It's
I
like,
thought you were going to say that he got out in parole.
No, bitch.
Not this.
no, this is what I found earlier, and I was like, what? So what's interesting is that at one point, a prisoner that's filming from behind the camera actually asked Richard why he killed the 8 student nurses, to which he merely replied, "It just wasn't their night," and laughed. As he's in silk panties
Giving a blowjob.
and doing large
And
amounts of
coke.
cocaine,
That
like,
that took me somewhere different. And
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
a little shocked
it
right now.
took me
still.
I was like, wow, this journey is
blink, blink.
weird. So he actually died in prison due to what is
Yeah.
largely believed to have been a heart attack on December 5th of 1991, which is he died in a hospital that was nearby in the town of Joliet. One day before would have been his 50th birthday, so he died at 49. So he was cremated and his ashes were scattered in an undisclosed area. Like, who cares? So here's some interesting info. He was given the nickname Birdman because he kept a pair of sparrows that had flown into his cell. Is that weird?
Yes.
Everything I learn about this man is really
Yeah,
fucking weird.
weird.
Right? There's nothing that's been saying that you
No. So what's interesting about this murder, or this whole thing, was that it was a national sensation. It was actually one of the first times in the 20th century American history that someone had killed so many people at random. Like, he didn't know any of them.
Yeah,
And
which
typically
is-
mass murder, like, people would like usually know, not at this point, but you know.
Right. And I don't love any of this, but the idea that it's the first time, right? And now we're living in our lives where there's a mass shooting, like
Every fucking day.
all of the fucking
All the
time.
time.
And if
In
we've all
America.
become so desensitized to it that it's not anything, like they probably this was probably a big deal then. And now it's like people don't care if elementary school gets shot up.
Well, and so here's the other thing. So for many at the time, it was seen as the end of an era of innocence, when it was never assumed that someone would kill helpless victims without clear motivation. Of course, just 2 years later was when Charles Manson would end the 60s decade of love for good. Like that. So, which is funny because that's not funny, but 2 episodes ago, is when I did the Manson murders. So this was just a few years prior.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy. So When the media referenced the trial, they often referred to Richard as a mass murderer. So while today that term is definitely a part of our everyday vernacular, referring to someone as a mass murderer in the 1960s was a total new phenomenon. Like, it was not done. Like, they didn't talk like that at all. So the gruesomeness of Richard's murders captured the fear and imagination of an entire generation. So it's been retold in countless films, television episodes, and books, which is interesting. And if you think about it, what's the serial killer from that had the bug? Why am I not remembering his name right now?
Oh,
The bug?
yeah, you're talking
he drove
about
around in the
oh my God, he's like a big one.
blue eyes.
I'm looking for a man in finance.
I'm looking for a man.
I'm sorry.
Do you not
I'm
know that one
too
either?
deep in TikTok.
I at least
Guys,
that
I
one.
don't. Yeah, I wish I was on Ted Bundy.
Yes, that's correct.
Bitch, you looked at my computer when I looked it up.
You are for sure correct. I did do that.
I did the work to find it. Anyway, Ted Bundy. So the reason that I bring Ted Bundy up is that, like this guy Richard, Ted Bundy ended up murdering those women in the dorm too. So
Yeah, in that
in a total act of,
as you
like-
were reading that, I was like, I feel like I've heard this, and it wasn't. It was the Ted Bundy one.
It's the Ted Bundy one,
And
yeah.
that
There's
did pop
some
into my mind
similarities.
too, to be like, wait, no, I think this is something different.
Yeah,
Crazy.
definitely similarities for sure. Now I will tell you, Richard was ugly as fuck. You know when people have really bad acne and they get pucks,
Ugh.
like deep,
Yeah.
and actually I have some under, like right here
Just
under my
hidden through your
beard.
beard.
They're not big by any means, but I definitely have them because I had bad acne. This guy had horrifying ones, like his whole. You'll see some pictures. Definitely when we post the
Yeah.
episode, he was sick. So
Yuck.
it was sick. So the gruesomeness. I already said that one. Okay, so in the decades following the murders, often referred to now as the Chicago Massacre, he actually, Richard only granted one interview to the media when he spoke to a Chicago Tribune columnist in 1978. So in that interview, he admitted to being under the effects of alcohol and drugs and further claimed to have had an accomplice whom he murdered in fear that that person would turn on him. But there's been no proof that he had an accomplice, like at all. Okay, so I do, like the last episode, want to touch on the victims' names just to say them again. So the victims of this evening with this asshole Richard, their names were Gloria Davy, Patricia Matsuk, Matt Usek, I don't know, Nina Jo Schmal, Pamela Wilkening, Suzanne Ferris, Marianne Jordan, Merlita Gargulo, and Valentina Passion. So all of them were in their early 20s, and their promising futures of caregivers and medical professionals were stolen from them, which is really sad. So,
That's very sad.
you know, Passion and Gargulo were both exchange students from the Philippines. So their bodies were, which I never heard of this word, but repatriated. Do you guys know that word?
Repatriated.
Is that it? Repatriated?
Yeah, I think.
Never heard of that word.
It's like
It's basically sent.
patriotic. Going back to their
It could be.
Yeah.
land. I don't
So
know.
they were sent back to the Philippines after a mass
how
was
awful.
held in their honor in
And
Chicago.
that probably already has to be scary for parents enough to be like, my children are leaving to go to a whole nother country,
Yeah.
and you don't know when your worst nightmares come true.
Right.
Yeah, where your children are murdered in a foreign country.
In what would also be considered a nightmare. Like,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
It's just sad. So, anyway, that is the story of Richard, who was a dick.
He was a dick. Fuck all these dudes.
I know.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
trust a straight,
Always
creepy looking
choose
man.
the bear.
Always choose
Always choose the bear.
the bear. I love that that's the episode title that you came up with.
Thank you.
Because I literally was like, these guys are horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. So, anyway, episode 23. So, just as a couple notes, if you like this video and this content on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, please. If you are listening to your podcast anywhere that you get them, but specifically on Spotify where you can comment,
And Apple.
but also Apple where you can rate and review. Please rate and
Yeah.
review. That's all. Any closing arguments from our friends here?
No.
I object to your no.
I
Just
object to your
kidding.
objection.
Sustained.
Just slap my ass like a drum.
Yep.
That was amazing, by the way. Oh my God. Oh, it is worth noting we are on TikTok. So going over to the TikTok.
We forgot to go live.
We did. We were going to go live.
We were told
Brandon
we were
and I
going to.
talked about it earlier too, and we were like, "But what do we go live with?"
What do you mean?
Just-
I don't
recording.
know. I've never watched a live on TikTok. Have you guys?
Yeah.
What do they do?
I mean, I've watched like a couple seconds of a live, but there are, but lives will like bring on like a bunch of random people, and if we
Ooh.
literally just set up your phone and
We should do
have
that.
And
this
just had it
going
live?
but have some sort of something on the screen to say like stream Homicide the podcast.
Love that for us. So we need to do that.
Yeah.
So okay, follow us on TikTok, and we'll go live at some point
Yeah.
for the next one. How about next one?
You
Let's do the
can
next
join
one.
Because
us in real time
Yes.
as we record.
Real
Because we just
time.
hit the 1,000 followers, and now we can do it.
We
Yeah.
did hit 1,000 followers. Thank you.
1,000 people like us on TikTok.
So
Yay.
exciting. We're popular. We're famous.
Famously.
Anyway, thank you both for joining the podcast that you both run. So
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
you're welcome.
Thank you for being there.
Thank you for being
A friend.
a friend. I was gonna come up with something more witty, but I didn't have enough time to think, so it
You
didn't
weren't
come out.
prepared for that.
Yeah, we're not.
Maybe next
No.
time.
We forgive
Yep.
you.
If anybody's
Thank
still
you.
listening at this point,
They're
thank
not.
you.
They're
We
not.
appreciate you.
Everyone has dropped off. So, anyway, thank you for being a subscriber. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.